Hey, and thanks for watching another video of the Instagram clone series. This is the part two, and we are going to start from the place we left off. That we had an Instagram grid with 6 photos and some tabs on top. And the next thing we're going to work now is to make all of those images clickable. And when you click on them, they will show a lightbox with the photo. So we achieve this with JavaScript. We're going to introduce some JavaScript code into our files and see how you can actually do this dynamically and show the right image every time you click with a close button to close it in the end. With no further to say, let's go into the tutorial. So we're working again on the second part of the Instagram layout tutorial. At the moment we are on the grid and we're going to do the profile information on top on another video, but for now let's focus on creating a lightbox. So when I click on one of the photos, the lightbox will show up and I will be able to see the photo. We can also work on the like button and double clicking the photo, but let's start with the lightbox first. So the first thing I want to do is I would actually like to go one step further and take the CSS outside of this file and create a styles file for the style part. So we create in our folder, it's the same folder with the index.html. Actually, I don't need a folder, I need a file. You can save this as style.css and copy all of our styles in there. All of our styles, I cut, delete, save, and paste them in the style file. If you go back to the website and refresh, you see that you lost all of your styles. You only have the HTML code working. So we're going to add here a link, which is a CSS link. And if we save, we actually see that the CSS is back and it's working as before. I probably will wrap the code here so we can see it all in one view and start working on the lightbox. So I will put the lightbox outside of the main up here and could be just a div that is called modal, and inside it could have another div that's called modal content, and next the modal background. In the content I can actually say this is content and just save this. So we're going to work on the CSS for this part. If you refresh the page, it's up here, but it's not what we really want. So I copy the model and I'm going to our CSS. Start here. This is a file that has everything. I would suggest actually to start with another CSS file that's called model, just to have it more clear for now. And we save this file as model.css and we start like this. Import the file, don't forget to import the file here. You can actually copy this line and do model. And you can test it. If you do display none, you shouldn't be able to see this. Okay, that's good. And one of the first things I will do here is position. You can do fixed, and then you give it all of the values around, like top, bottom, left, and right, a 0. And this is gonna make the content float into the page. Actually, you can also increase the z index. Usually we do 99, but or we do 9099, but now we'll just keep this. And it's gonna work because index is the layer of the layers of your HTML, and the main now will have something like the index 1. But this is the model who just set the index 90, 99, and it's going to be on the top. So we're going to style this a bit more because it doesn't look like the end result. And we're going to take model content from the class we already have. We don't actually need this first. We can use model background first. and give it a color, background color of black. And probably we'll be able to see 1%. See it here. Yeah, this is not exactly what I want because we have content and module. The background should be back, so we're going to give this a position absolute with the same values here. Actually, yeah, we should make this, and this way we will have the background exactly the same size of the model. Maybe we can stop the view and see the whole window. I understand you don't see anything. Actually, we can use some opacity of 0.4, and this way lightbox looks a bit more like lightbox, maybe 0.5. And then the content is the main one that will have a background color of white for now, or you can put code of white, and you can see that it's actually behind the model we have, the background color we have. That's why you cannot see it 100% white. And this is why we're going to use again the z-index to bring it forward. So you can use actually z-index 2 to the model content. That's why we add position relative, because position helps z-index, activates it, and then z-index 1 for the background. So we're going to go in the back, and this is going in the front. Also, the model could have a display flex and just align everything centrally and align items blue. This is going to keep the model in the middle of the page. You can also give it some padding, but for now, I'm pretty sure we don't need that. We can just put a photo inside. We have actually a photo here. So let's put this photo, which looks nice. We copy only the URL of the photo. We go up here to our model, and we're going to use URL and alt and alt, which you can say MB is looking in the distance, wearing Apple, I don't know, this Apple headphones. I'm not really sure how they call them quite new. So now we can see the photo and inside the model content, but we can see that it's really big. If I even close this, you can actually see that it's really big. I want this to be smaller and actually follow the size of the model content. So the model content has no size, to be honest, because we haven't set any size here. What I'd like to do here is give it a max width of 90% and see what we can do with that. Okay, it's 90%, but still the photo is really big. So we can actually style the photo and give it a class of model content photo. Take this class, go to CSS, and give this width of 100%. So this is going to fit into the model we have. And actually, we see that there's a small gap down here. There's a small area that shouldn't be like this. And we can probably fix it with some display. I'm not sure if inline block is going to fix that. No, inline did fix that, but also inline flex should fix that. Let's go back to our CSS and add this. And yeah, actually you can see now we have the model with the photo. Of course, we don't have the other elements of Instagram, but we can add this a little later. The first part of the model is it's here. And let's see how you can actually turn this on and off, because we don't have this functionality right now. We are not going to do exactly as Instagram does for the first part, but we can actually add the main information, which is a button that we'll call close. So you see the button here, not the best position, so we can position it later. Let's give it a class that it's model. You can actually put model content close button. Okay, I can copy this, go to our CSS, and give this a position absolute. As we've seen now, position absolute, let's move the objects around, and I will give it actually a top of 20 pixel and probably a right of 20 pixel. You can see that the button now is up here. We can actually change it with an X or put it outside of the frame. For now, it's going to be here because it works for us. And maybe give it some padding of 10 pixels just to make it a little bigger. And actually, it does nothing. So we'll have to add functionality to this. So the first part will be to start the page with the modal closed, because when I refresh the page, the modal is always here, and this is not what we want. So let's start by hiding the modal when the page starts, when the page loads, because now it's always enabled. We will go to our modal CSS and we'll say body dot show modal, and we can give this display flex that we have it here, and then do display none. So if we refresh, it's not going to be here. Let me explain a bit what we've done here. When the body has a class like show modal, yes, we can add classes to our body. Now there is no class, if you see here in Chrome. But if we add a class that's called show modal, then the model will have a display flex, and any other display except none will actually show the element. So the model always starts with display none, and when there is a class in body, the specific class, the display will be flex. So if I go here to Chrome and actually edit the body and do it give it a class of show model, we should be able to see our model, or maybe not, because looks like there is a mistake. The mistake is that, and that's a good mistake, sometimes you're going to do this stuff while coding. The mistake is that now I put the display flex class to the model, to the body, and not to our model. So I have to also copy this class and put it here, save it, refresh the page, and again I don't have to copy from here. I can just go here, give to our body this show model class, save it, and then you can see the models here. If I remove the class, the model will go away. So this will be the first thing we'll do to make the model show and disappear every time. To be honest, we don't need the class here because it shouldn't have the class in the beginning. But I want, when I click on one of the images, I want to be able to see this class in body, to set it up here, and also to be able to see the model. So one of the first things we can do is actually go to our link. Those are the links we have, and give those links a class. We'll have a class, but we're going to give them a class for JavaScript, because we're going to use JavaScript to make the interactive part of our application or of our website. And we're going to give a class like JS. Actually, I'm going to use the same. I will just add JS in the beginning, just to know that this class is only used for JavaScript. And we do this to differentiate the class we have for stylings and the class we have for JavaScript and interaction in general. So the first thing we're going to do on this part of the tutorial is to take actually the class we just set here, the JS photo grid photo, and give this class to any element I have that it's going to open the photo. So I'm going to copy paste it to all of our elements, and nothing will change actually, but what we need at the moment is to give some JavaScript to our page. So after main, I will add a script, and in here we add our JavaScript. We add the script, and it's exactly the same as the way that we work with this. It's the same as the styles. So when I have styles inside the page, I can also move them externally to another file and link them in up here We can do the same with JavaScript. For now, we're going to start again inline, and later we can actually move it on another file. So the first thing I'm going to do is try to find this class that we have here with JavaScript. So I can say document, which is the whole document we have, dot query selector, which means it's going to try to find the selector, and I give the name. It's always inside quotes, could be also double quotes. Now it's single quotes, and this is how we're going to try to find this class into the document and assign it to something. So we say, okay, you found this object, you found this class, now we want you to do something with this. So the next step is to add an event listener. So this means that there is an event, we add an event here, and the browser will know what this event is. We are going to tell it to the browser, and we'll actually do what we actually say to the browser to do. If, for example, go here and say click, this means that this element in the browser has an event and is click. So on click, there will be something. And if we use this comma, we can actually add a function. And here we can execute the code. The function is what is going to happen now that we're going to click on the photo. One example is we can use alert. This is a common, actually, let's say hello world, for example, a common example. And when I refresh the page and I click, I should get this alert hello world. Probably this will happen all to the first photo and not to all of them. I'm going to see why later, but the first thing is to make the first photo show up here. So we don't need this alert, it was just for testing. What we want to do is actually to go again to our document and select our body, because we actually want as a next step to add a class to our body, right, to show the model. So we do document.body. The body is something that the browser knows because it's always there. It's a difference with that's difference with our selector, that we have to say, okay, find the selector. So document.body dot class list. This is the list of class that the body has. At the moment has none, but doesn't matter. This is all of the class. Dot add, because we want to add a class to this class list. And we say we're going to actually take this class, the show model, and add it here. You don't have to put dot because it's a class list and it doesn't need it at the moment. We put dot when we want to find an element or we want to use it in CSS. And let's test it. Refresh the page, click, and you can actually see that the model is here because on the body there is this show model class. And actually I can try to close, but the close button still doesn't work. We haven't worked on this. So let's make the close button, remove this class from up here. So next thing will be to go to our model up here, find the button, and add the same JS, the same way the JS class. So we just added JS in the beginning and we'll copy the rest. Go down here to our code and add again document, query, selector. We'll find this class and then add again an event listener that will wait for a click and have a function that will actually go to the document. Let's write this document.body. We'll find the body, we'll find the class list, and remove the show model class. Okay, let's get the preview and open the model, click on close, and the model is closed. So now you know how to create a model, create the styling, and then add some JavaScript that will open the model and close it. And next thing will be to have this photo, because the photo of this element is not the same as this. So the next thing will be to add the right photo here. So again, let's go back to our model, find the image that we have. The image is this one, and add another JS class. Okay, so we can also select this image with JavaScript. And one more thing we're going to do here is actually delete the source of this image. We don't need it at all. We don't need to have a source for this image. And also we don't need to have an alt. We leave the alt empty for now. Not a good practice, we'll have to fill it up later. And if I refresh and open the model, you actually see just the close button because there's no source. So let's now let's go actually to the first element. This element, this link, is this photo here. And it has inside, you can see this photo link. So we want to take this and show it inside the model. We're going to copy the link, and you can give actually an attribute that's called data slash data dash actually, and then we can give a name, for example, image source, and copy paste the URL here. We're doing this because JavaScript will be able to access this data image source. Actually, I will do it data image source, and then we can set this source to the image we have in the model in here, and show the photo we want each time. Let's see how it works. The first thing is to get this photo. Actually, I don't need this part of the photo. I need the model photo class, this one. Go down here and say every time I click the button that's going to open the photo, I'm going to also find this class, which is the model photo, and I can change the source to the source I want. We can actually start without the data. We can go up here and copy this and test it. Okay, and let's test it. So when I click, you see that I have the photo I wanted because we actually gave it here as a source. Great, this is exactly what we wanted to do. Okay, now let's get the image that we have here on this image source. Actually, I will do what I did before, like image dash data dash image that's the source. Take the source, go down here, and then we don't want to have this URL all the time here. We want to dynamically take what the data is and put it into the element. So we're going to remove this, and we can actually use something that's called this, and this means the item we actually have, the element we actually have. The element that has the advert listener at the moment is this. It's the same reference. Dot data set. Data set is all of the data attributes that the element has, exactly as the class list we said before. It's almost the same as data set. And then I can do dot image source. Up here, if you see up here, we had data image source. I can actually copy paste it down here and explain it a bit. So this is the reference of the element. And then we have data set, which is data up here. So if we remove this, it's this part, it's done. And then image source, so when there is des, JavaScript actually makes it capital and removes the des. This is how it works. So when you see this data set image source, it actually means data image source. But let's see if it's working. Save it, refresh the page, click on the model, and there you can actually see that you get the photo you wanted. You can actually close the model. So the first part is done. You can open the model, you can take the photo you want and close it, but no other models are opening. Also, you can see that the element is a link and has just a hashtag for URL. If you actually change this URL, you probably have a problem when you click. So when you click, you actually see that it's going into a page. And why this is happening? Because it's a link and it should work as a link. And a way to stop that is you can actually keep the hashtag, it doesn't matter. The way to stop that is into the function of the click, you add an event. The event is the event of the browser. So the click is an event, for example. And this event, you can actually say event on prevent default. which will prevent the default action of the browser. This is not the best case to do. Sometimes we have to do it, but it's not always the case. But let's go here and try it. So if I click, it's going to open and close. If I go back here and give it a link, just this less, it should still work and not move to another page or anything. This is working well, and why we use a link actually? You may ask why we don't use a div or something else and we use a link here. You actually use a link because we can also have a tab navigation inside. So if I do this tab navigation, I actually press tab and shift tab at the moment, and then I click enter. I can still reach my element and be able to open it. So another problem here now is when I use tab navigation and I go into the element, I don't have selected as I don't have this button selected to close the element quickly with just enter button. This is like more keyboard, it's more accessibility. It's good to know. It's not the easiest thing to do because sometimes it takes a bit more time to make it accessible, your website accessible, but it's really important because people cannot use your website without keyboard if they have to. So we can actually fix the focus problem, which means that when I click on the image and I have the model, if I want to click enter or space, the model should close. And at the moment it does nothing because the focus probably back here. So when I, let's see if I focus now. So this image is focused. When I click enter or return, the image will show up, the model will come up, but the focus is still back here. We want to move the focus to the close button. So someone with just a click can close the button again, the model again. So go back to our code. We know actually how to select this button. This is the selector we had before. So we can come here and select it. So when I do a click, it will prevent the default from the link. It will add to the body the show model class. It will add the image source from the data we set on the HTML. And it will actually find the close button and focus on it. This focus means that it will just go and focus. If we try it here and then we do tab or even click with the mouse, now you can see the focus sits on the close button, and with one click like space or return, the model will just close. Do it again. You can see it's here, and with return, it will just close. Sometimes you may not be able to see the focus here, but it's still there, and with a button, it will just work. In order to make each one of the elements we have here work and be able to show images, we can actually go back to the links and add this data image source that we don't have to the rest. It should be on each one of them. And add it here. And the links are a bit big for now, long, but it's okay. It's gonna work for us. Do it here again. Data image source. Okay, one more here. And then the last one, we leave it without data just to see what's going to happen. If I refresh and click, you see there's nothing changing, only the first one is working at the moment. But we'll go back to our code because what we want to do here is say to JavaScript that, okay, thanks for finding this selector for me, but JavaScript is going into the document and finding the first element, not all of the elements. So we have 6 elements, at least 6 elements here. So JavaScript only finds the first one and so it stops there, adds the event, and that's it. It doesn't know about the rest. So we want to actually use another attribute that's called query selector all, which means it will go into the document and find all of the selectors, not just the first one. But this is not going to work with the rest of the part because we cannot just add it like this. We actually have to take the event listener from here. If you see the event listener, take it off, I cut it, I will paste it after this. or actually we can move it a bit down and comment it. And we want to say something like for each. So we said JavaScript just find all of those selectors, all of those elements, and for each one of them, go and give the event listener to each one of them. So in order to do this, we're going to use another function and say, we can say elem, which means element for us is something we have to use. It's whatever we want. We can say item, we can say whatever we want. So we're going to say element, and then we use the equals and the arrow to make it arrow function. And this goes like for each element arrow function elem, and we copy the rest of the code. Cut this and a dot, copy the rest of the code. You can actually save some space here, and let's check it out. When I click on the first one, it's working. We close. And the second one, it's actually working too, and it has the photo that we wanted. Why it has the photo we wanted? Because we have the data image source, and we also use this.dataset.image source to go and find this for each one of them. This is working. So probably the first 5 are working, but not the last one. The last one, it's actually showing an error. I'm not able to see if you can see that, probably not. So here you can see that my console shows an error when I click the last one because it doesn't find the data image source. One thing we can do is to add it, of course, and then it's going to work. But we can also say to our JavaScript that this part, when it's looking for the photo of the model and trying to change its source, it's trying also to find the data image source. We can say to JavaScript that, okay, if you don't find this, then I can say it this way, give an empty string, just nothing. So nothing to our page. So if I go to the last one again and I click on it, you see that it will show nothing, but it will still open and there is no error in the console here. The rest of them are working as they should. And there is no error now when we try to open this one, which is quite good for this case. Let's do some last quick changes to our JavaScript in order to have our our second part ready. So what we'd like to do is when you open the model, here we set the dataset image source to the photo we have. We'll actually like to also unset it when we click the close button. So let's go back to this part, which is the click of the close button, and we can copy the code up here, which is the source. And in there we can say just set it to an empty string, so it's nothing. It's not going to change anything when you look at it, but if your image takes a while to load, in the past you will be able to see the previous image. For example, when I click here, I see this one. When I click close, the image was still there. So when I was loading this one, it will take a while to show this one, so you see the previous. When you have a slow connection, you can see it, so I would like to avoid this problem. That's why we use this code here that will help us clean up when we close the model. Another thing we like to do is you can also close the model when you click on the black background, up, down, or in the corners. And we can easily do this. If we go back to our code, this is the code that is closing the model. And we can use the same technique as query selector all we have up here. First, we'll go up to the background in our HTML modal background, and we give this again the JS class, JS model background. Copy it, go down here, and then you can actually use inside the selector a comma dot model background, give the class name, and make this query selector all. This again, we're going to find all of the close button selectors and JS model background selectors, and we'll give them the event listener. But this is not going to work at the moment because we don't have for each as we've done up here. So I'm going to keep this functionality, this add event listener down here. Take the for each we have up here, and then we do query selector all dot for each, and inside again you can do elem from element and elem again. Take all of your code and paste it up here after the element. We can actually now save and test our code. Refresh the page, open the model, click outside, and you can see it's actually working. Also, the button is working. And this way, you can also have a more functional model. When you click outside, it will close. When you click close, again, it will close. And when it's loading and closing after, you also clean what you started, the source one. Let's quickly also fix the alt problem, because now the images that we saw in the model have no alt, have an empty alt actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give to our link here an data alt, or actually data image alt, and I'm going to give a description like MHB or MKBHD is next to Obama. Or actually, you can say this is a picture with, I can see being next to Obama, for example. You can also give this alt to the rest of the images. This could be a little exercise for you, but now you know how to do it, right? And then every time we're going to do the source up here, we're also going to do the same for the alt. Before that, we can quickly inspect this element. You can see it's small now, but we can see up here in our HTML that the alt is empty. Let's test it with the alt. Copy this photo source. So here we can make alt, this dataset, emotes alt, or nothing. I'm not really sure if alt is the correct way, but we can try and test. And looks like alt is not the right way. Oh no, actually I click on the second photo, click on the first. Yes, when I click on the first, you can see the alt is here. Probably we don't clean up, so when I go back to this one, the alt is empty. Oh yeah, it's empty because it didn't find alt, so it put an empty one. Okay, that's good, but I'd like to clean up. Let's go back to the close one. And when I close the emotes, I'd like the alt to be nothing. This is going to happen when I open this and I close it. You can see the alt now. Oh, I didn't refresh the page actually. Let's do it now. Check the alt is here. When I close, the alt is not here anymore, and so it is unknown. It's not the best to have source unknown, but for now it works for us, so it's going to be fine. It should be here for the same. Yes, source is unknown. Okay, just copy the alt to the next images, to all of your images, and give a good alt for them, and it's going to be fine. For any problem you may face or any recommendation you may have, just write in the comments below. And before I close this video, I'd like you to also subscribe to check new tutorials that are coming into the channel. And of course, like if you actually like the video. Thanks, and we will see each other in the next video.